Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, Genghis Khan, Napoleon Bonaparte. The end of the four great conquerors. Imagine a man who wept because conquering 2 million square miles was not enough for him. The glory hunter, Alexander the Great, cared only for one thing: conquering the world. He threw his army into battle without fear of defeat, as if he were immortal. And why wouldn't he think that? The man was on a victory spree for 10 years. His men were tired and wanted to return home to enjoy the luxuries they had won, but their king cared for no riches. He didn't even care much for ruling, only conquering. It was all going well for him until he hit a wall in India. Alexander lost many men while fighting Porus, his most challenging battle. He was reportedly wounded himself, and his horse died in battle. He kept pushing his men, but across the river was another vast Indian army, refreshed and ready, while his men were tired and weak. They begged Alexander to call it a day, call it a campaign, or call it an empire, but return home. And for once, Mr. Won't Listen to Anybody was forced to comply. This was the beginning of the end for him. Infamous for his drinking habit, he went overboard one night and fell seriously ill. His opportunist generals quickly gathered to see their king and asked who his vast empire would belong to after his death. Alexander replied, "To the strongest." This triggered a war between his generals, which lasted for almost 50 years. The Macedonian Empire was broken up into pieces before it even was a thing. But anyways, it was never about Macedonia in the first place. For Alexander, it was only about Alexander. He got paralyzed and was pronounced dead by physicians. Greek historians write that Alexander's body didn't decompose for 6 days after his death, which proves that the warrior king was indeed a god. However, they failed to realize he wasn't dead to begin with. Modern-day scientists believe Alexander suffered from a neurological disorder which had put him in a coma. It is very possible that Alexander heard the plots of his men before he was buried alive. Next, we have the fanboy of Alexander, Gaius Julius Caesar. While Alexander wept because he had no more worlds to conquer, Caesar is reported to have burst into tears while reading the exploit.